Fitzsimons's politics are well known. His many emphatic opinions, published in his newspaper columns, routinely align with Labor policy. He ruthlessly vilified Israel Folau for his Christian beliefs and thinks men should be allowed to compete in women's sports if they think they're women. Are these the kind of ideas he hopes will be more acceptable under a republic? Under the Republican movement's model, the various parliaments around Australia would put forward a field of candidates for head of state, and the people would elect their favourite. In a promotional video for the Republican movement released in January, Socceroo Craig Foster says in a soft, soothing voice that such a head of state would be one of the, quote, most eminent, trusted and beloved citizens who will then represent this, quote, beautifully diverse country at home and abroad. But there might be an inbuilt flaw in this. How can one person represent a country that's defined by its diversity? Can't that only happen in a society that is defined by uniformity? Foster changes his tone about Australia when he's not talking about the Republic. Turns out he doesn't like the place much, at least not the way it is now. He delivered a speech to the National Press Club for the Australian National University in March that he titled Australia and the World. The subtitle outlined the choice he believes the nation now needs to make, quote, courage, solidarity, humanity and leadership, or refugee torture, human rights abuse, xenophobia and climate inaction. That's quite a crossroads there, Craig. I'm not sure I fit into either of those camps, to be honest. In the speech, he said the Australian political system had collapsed under the existential challenges of the pandemic and climate disaster. Into this vacuum, he said, quote, community leaders have found new prominence. Many of them brilliant women speaking truth to power, and they have greater social trust than many politicians. Well, if that's how he feels, then Foster doesn't think very highly of our current constitution. Which brings me back to the Republican movement's proposed model. What would prevent a candidate for the head of state campaigning on, to use two of Foster's examples, the racism of Australia's border security and inaction on climate? Such a head of state, if elected, could claim a more direct mandate from the people than the indirectly elected Prime Minister. What happens then? Anyway, if this is why Foster is so determined to introduce a republic, he really needn't worry. The left's perfect candidate for our head of state is already the next in line. Republicans, I present to you the next King of Australia, a man with impeccable woke credentials and already a veteran of the international globalist circuit. If that bloke doesn't tick all the Republican boxes, nobody does.